and grab a chair. Learn the facts. Turn it up. This SSCC Deep Dive Podcast with Frank and Wendy.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Shepard-Smith Compliance Consulting April 2026 Deep Dive Podcast.
It is so wonderful to be back with you.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Wendy. Or wait, is it Wendy and Frank?
It's definitely Frank and Wendy today. And we really hope your spring's going well. Are you looking forward to this month's April showers?
April showers? I mean, do you mean mud season?
Oh, man. That is so true. It sounds so poetic when you say showers, but the reality is just, well, it's sludge.
You know, if you step off the sidewalk in April, you are definitely losing a shoe. It's basically quicksand out there.
Yeah, I lost a sneaker in 2024. I'm pretty sure it's still down there, just becoming part of the geological record at this point. But hey, wait, isn't this our 1-year anniversary of doing these?
Oh my gosh, I think it is. Can you believe it's been a year?
I really can't. Our first one on grilled cheese and research was so fun. I remember that so clearly.
Yeah.
We were trying to explain the importance of standard operating procedures using, sandwich construction.
I remember that too. And looking back, the show has really grown so much. We've covered some incredibly dense regulatory environments, grant fraud, the nuances of the False Claims Act.
Right. And we hope that digging into these topics really supports you, our clients. That's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
To take these massive stacks of regulations and workshop materials and turn them into something you can actually listen to on your commute without completely falling asleep.
Speaking of things to keep you awake, or maybe, I don't know, sugar crash you, we have to look at the Shepard-Smith Compliance Consulting calendar of super awesome events.
Always the highlight of the month. So what do we have for April 2026?
Well, looking at the dates here, April 3rd and 6th are big ones. Please note that SSCC is closed in recognition of Easter. But please text us if you need us. We'll probably be eating chocolate.
But definitely not hunting for Easter eggs in the mud, that's for sure.
Definitely not. Mud-colored Easter eggs would be terrible for the kids.
Right, just is that an egg or a rock?
Nope, just a clump of dirt, sweetie. Have fun.
Now, backing up a day to April 2nd, National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day.
Oh, a classic.
I have really strong feelings on this. The best PB&J is open-faced on toast with a little salted butter under the peanut butter.
Under the peanut butter. It sounds structurally unstable.
No, it's life-changing. It adds this savory layer that cuts the sweetness of the jelly. Just have to try it and thank me later. Anyway, moving on to April 7th, Public Television Day.
Do we still have public television? It's sad we even have to ask that.
I know. Support your local stations, folks. Then we have April 10th, Golfers Day.
Which brings us back to the weather issues. It's hard to play golf in the mud, you know?
Yeah, good luck with that. And finally, April 21st is National Keep Off the Grass Day.
Because, of course, it's mud season in the Midwest. If you go on the grass, you completely destroy the grass. And your shoes.
Exactly. So, wipe your feet, grab a chocolate egg, and let's settle in. Because we thought this month's deep dive would be a really good time to focus on one of the most critical, but most often overlooked topics for the responsible conduct of research, or RCR as the cool kids call it.
We're talking about mentor and mentee responsibilities.
Now, usually when we talk about RCR, we're talking about plagiarism or faking data, the high drama stuff. But this topic, mentorship, it feels a bit softer, like a bit more HR than compliance. So why is this in a compliance deep dive?
Yeah, that is the really common misconception. We tend to think of mentorship as this benevolent, totally optional activity, like, oh, I'll give you some advice over coffee. But in the eyes of the federal government and the research integrity community, the mentor and mentee relationship is the primary control mechanism for scientific quality.
Wow.
Yeah, when that relationship breaks, the science breaks.
So it's not just about being nice. It's fundamentally about risk management.
Precisely. We are moving way beyond the traditional advisor model today.
We're looking at a holistic, reciprocal framework.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've got a huge stack of slides, some articles from Nature, and some training modules from CIMER. So where do we even start?
I think we start with geometry.
Geometry, okay.
Yeah, to understand the infrastructure of research training, you kind of need to visualize a triangle.
The research triangle. Exactly. At the 3 points of the triangle, you have the 3 key players. At one point, you have the institution. At another, the mentor. And at the third, the mentee.
And the connection between them isn't just, good vibes.
No, not at all. Connecting all 3 points is the actual glue of the operation, which is the regulatory framework and compliance. It operates between the institution and the mentor and the mentee, and the mentee and the institution. Nothing happens in a vacuum.
Got it. And I think we have a mantra for this deep dive, right? Like 3 words to rule them all.
We do. If you take nothing else away from this hour, you need to remember this. Provide, guide, abide.
Provide, guide, abide. Okay, break that down for the listener.
The institution's job is to provide, the mentor's job is to guide, and the mentee's job is to abide.
Let's start at the top then. The institution. Provide, that sounds generous, like they're handing out snacks or something. But in a regulatory sense, what does provide actually mean?
Well, it means creating the vacuum in which the training occurs. And we aren't just talking about providing a building with electricity and Wi-Fi, though obviously that helps.
Sure.
We're talking about legal and ethical structures. You see, the institution is the entity that actually signs the contract with the federal government. When the NIH sends $1 million, they don't send it to Dr. Smith, they send it to the university.
Oh, right. So the university is completely on the hook.
Completely. That's exactly why they have to provide a massive infrastructure to ensure Dr. Smith doesn't accidentally or intentionally commit fraud.
So who are the players in this infrastructure? Who actually does the providing on a day-to-day basis?
It's a collection of very specific offices. First, you have the Chief Research Officer, or CRO. They are the executive. They provide the spaces, the resources, and they're the ones who usually address conflicts of interest.
Okay. Then you have the RIO, the Research Integrity Officer. Now, in my experience, nobody wants to see the RIO walking toward their desk.
No, they absolutely do not. The RIO handles the research misconduct life cycle. If there's an allegation of faking data, the RIO steps in. That is the heavy lifting on ethics. They provide the judicial system, if you will, for the whole research enterprise.
Makes sense. Then we have the office we mentioned earlier, the Office of Sponsored Programs.
They manage policy and, crucially, intellectual property, or IP issues. They essentially provide the contractual safety net.
And we're going to get really deep into IP later, because that's where careers just absolutely get wrecked. Who else is providing?
The safety nets. The IRB, which is the Institutional Review Board for Human Subjects, and the IBC for biosafety. If you're working with people or dangerous bugs, they provide the compliance framework so you literally don't break federal law.
And general counsel.
The lawyers, they ensure things like the mentorship compact, which we'll discuss in a bit, are actually available and legally sound. And we really can't forget IT.
IT often gets totally overlooked in these discussions until something goes horribly wrong.
Exactly. They aren't just there to fix the jammed printer, they provide training in research security. Passwords, firewalls, protecting data from foreign influence, and finally, Title IX and disability services. They provide missional resources and support to ensure the environment is actually inclusive and safe.
So, zooming out, why does the institution matter so much in this provide, guide, abide triangle? Like, why can't a mentor and mentee just go off into the woods, build a shed, and do science?
Because of liability and ownership. The institution is the legal entity here. They take on all the risk. And here's a little preview for a quiz question later. Who owns the data?
We're going to hold the official answer on that, but I have a feeling a lot of listeners think they own their data.
Most do, and most are very wrong. The institution provides the resources, so the institution owns the result.
Okay, that definitely sets the stage. The institution provides the sandbox. Now let's move to the second point of the triangle. The mentor. Their word is guide.
And this is where we really need to make an important distinction. The difference between a supervisor and a mentor.
I read the Nature article in our source stack, the Guide for Mentors piece. And this distinction really stood out to me too. It basically said a supervisor oversees a project, but a mentor oversees a career.
That's the soul of it right there. A supervisor might check your data, sign your timesheet, make sure you show up to the lab meeting on time. That is purely transactional.
Right.
But a mentor is transformational. A mentor is for life. The sources say a true mentor treats their former students like extended family. They keep in touch. They send opportunities your way years down the road.
There was a phrase in the source material that I found really fascinating. It was intellectual jealousy.
Yes, the unselfishness trait. This is actually a massive barrier in academia.
Explain that for us. Because you'd naturally think a professor would want their student to be as smart as possible.
You would think so, yeah. But in academia, ideas are currency. Your standing depends on being the smartest person in the room. So a selfish supervisor hoards ideas. They see a brilliant student as a threat, like someone who might scoop them or outperform them.
So they actively hold them back.
Consciously or unconsciously, yes, they do. But a true mentor has absolutely no intellectual jealousy. They let the mentee take credit. They push them into the limelight. The source even mentioned that a great mentor supports a mentee in publishing papers that might even critique the mentor's own work.
Wow. That takes incredible confidence. To basically say, I taught you so well that you can now prove me wrong.
It does take confidence, but honestly, that's how science advances. If you're just creating clones of yourself who agree with everything you say, you aren't mentoring, you're just echoing.
So let's get really practical here. If you're looking to be a mentor, or if you're a student looking for a mentor, what are the actual responsibilities? What does guide look like on a random Tuesday morning?
We can break it down into hard and soft skills. On the psychosocial side, so the soft skills, it's role modeling, counseling, and building self-efficacy. Basically making the mentee truly believe they can actually do this work.
And the hard skills.
Career functions. And sponsorship is a really big one here.
Wait, how is sponsorship different from mentorship? They sound like the same thing.
Mentorship is talking to you. Sponsorship is talking about you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, sponsorship is using your influence to advocate for the student when they aren't even in the room, saying things like, you should hire this person or give this grant to this person. And then, of course, the other hard skill is research integrity, teaching them what RCR actually means in practice.
The Nature article had this incredible list of traits for a good mentor. I want to drill down on a few of these because they kind of go against the grain of the grumpy genius stereotype we always see in movies.
Let's do it.
First one on the list, enthusiasm.
Crucial. The source specifically says it must be infectious.
Why is that so important, though? Can't you just be a quiet, serious genius?
You can be serious, but you can't be bored. Science is like 90% failure.
Yeah.
Try an experiment, it fails. You try again, it fails. If the leader isn't excited about the potential of the work, why should the student keep banging their head against the wall?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. If the mentor is bored, the team is just dead in the water.
Next trait, sensitivity.
This is really about seeing the human being, understanding personal factors, breakups, sickness, family issues.
There was a specific example in the text about allowing a postdoc with young children to return part-time.
That's a huge one. In high-pressure labs, that is so often seen as a weakness. But a good mentor understands that talent doesn't just disappear because someone has a baby. If a mentor runs a sweatshop, they might get data in the short term, but they completely burn out their talent in the long term. A sensitive mentor plays the long game.
Okay, this next one was cited as the most valued trait by mentees. Availability. The open door.
Ah, yes, the open door policy. It sounds so simple, but it's actually the hardest thing to execute.
Because professors are insanely busy. They have grants to write, classes to teach, committees.
Incredibly busy. But the source material emphasizes that the best mentors prioritize scientific discussion way above administration. When a student is in crisis, maybe they totally messed up an expensive experiment, or they're panicking about a presentation, telling them to come back next week, just destroys trust. You have to be available.
I really loved the description of inspiration in the source. It called it a spiritual experience.
That was beautifully put. Walking into an office feeling like a total failure, like your experiment is trash, and walking out believing you've somehow solved the mysteries of the universe, that is the magic trick of a truly great mentor. They reframe the failure as a vital step toward discovery.
And finally, community building. Which brings us to my absolute favorite theory of the day, the chocolate biscuit theory.
The chocolate biscuit theory.
It sounds so trivial, just give them cookies. But reading between the lines, this is about something much deeper, isn't it?
It really is. It's about psychological safety. The source says biscuits do more for good humor than feel-good talk.
It's the ritual of it.
Exactly. If we sit down and share food, whether it's biscuits or the other examples they mentioned like jazz bands, canoeing, or karaoke, we are bonding as humans. If I feel safe with you socially, I am much, much more likely to tell you when I made a mistake in the lab.
Ah, and that prevents research misconduct.
Precisely. A sterile, cold lab is a lab where mistakes get hidden out of fear. A lab with biscuits is a lab where mistakes get openly discussed.
Okay, so that's the general vibe of the mentor. But we also have some really concrete tools from CIMER, which is the Center for the Improvement of Mentored Experiences in Research.
CIMER provides the tactical gear for all of this.
Okay.
And the big one is the Mentorship Compact.
A compact. So it's like a legal contract?
No, it's not a legal contract in the sense that you'll get sued over it, but it's a formal professional agreement. It's about aligning expectations. The slide had a really great quote. Aligning expectations prevents unwritten resentments.
Unwritten resentments. That's
Yeah.
such a powerful phrase. It's the poison in so many working relationships.
It is absolutely deadly in a lab environment. You think I'm working until 8 p.m. because that's what you did in grad school? I think I'm leaving at 5 p.m. because that's what my official contract says. If we don't write it down, you think I'm lazy, and I think you're a tyrant.
So the compact just puts it all right there on paper.
Yes. Frequency of meetings, authorship order, which is a massive source of conflict, by the way, turnaround time for feedback on papers.
Even dress code, right?
Even dress code. Like,
Right.
are lab coats required at all times? Are shorts allowed in the summer?
It seems small, but if you get yelled at for wearing open-toed shoes when you didn't know the rule, it damages the relationship. So just put it in the compact.
Another tool mentioned in the material was fair play. This sounded like a video game or a simulation.
It is a simulation game. Players take the perspective of Davis, who is a Black graduate student,
And what's the goal of playing that?
to experience the accumulation of bias. It's not just about one big, overtly racist event. It's the microaggressions, the daily barriers, the constant feeling of not belonging.
So it literally forces the mentor to walk in those shoes for a bit. Yes. It helps mentors and students understand racial bias in academia from the inside out. It's a really powerful tool for building empathy and understanding that not everyone is playing the game on the same difficulty setting. A white male mentor might simply not see the barriers Jamal faces. The game makes them visible.
That is so important to acknowledge. So we've got the institution providing the liability shield. We've got the mentor guiding with biscuits and compacts. Now let's talk about the third point of our triangle, the mentee. Their word is abide.
Abide.
Now, I have to be totally honest with you. That word chafes me just a little bit. It sounds so passive, like the dude abides, or just strict obedience. Sit down, shut up, and do what you're told.
That is a very, very common reaction to that word, but we really need to reclaim it. In this context, abide isn't about blind obedience to a master. It's about abiding by the standards of the profession. It's fundamentally about integrity and humility.
We had a quote about integrity in the notes.
Yeah.
Doing the right thing when you don't have to, when no one else is looking.
Right. It was misattributed to C.S. Lewis in the slides, but it actually comes from Charles Marshall. But the point really stands. Research is very often solitary work. You are alone in a dark room with a microscope at 3 a.m. If you cheat, no one knows but you. Abiding means honoring the scientific process, even when you're exhausted and just desperate for a good result.
And there was a Confucius connection in there too, wasn't there?
Yes. True knowledge is knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know.
That's the humility part.
Exactly.
Right.
A highly dangerous mentee is one who thinks they already know everything. That leads to terrible accidents and massive errors. A good mentee knows their limits and asks for help when they hit them.
So to operationalize this idea of abide, the workshop gave us the 3 Bs.
The 3 Bs. Number 1 is be proactive.
Steer the ship, as they say.
Yeah. Yes. And this is a really hard transition for students coming straight from undergrad, where the teacher essentially tells you exactly what to study. In grad school, it's your education. Don't wait for the mentor to tell you what to do every single day. Set the agenda for the meeting yourself. Come with your data. Come with your own questions.
Number 2 is be coachable.
This is probably the hardest one for high achievers. These are people who have been straight-A students their entire lives. They really aren't used to being told, hey, this isn't good enough.
So how do you actually practice being coachable?
You accept feedback without totally falling apart. And crucially, you explain your thought process rather than just defending your actions.
That's a subtle difference, but it seems important.
It's a massive difference. Saying, I did it this way because I thought X, Y, and Z, that invites the mentor to correct your underlying logic. But saying, I did it right and you're wrong, that just puts up a defensive wall.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Number 3 is be professional.
Respect the mentor's time. Respect their experience. They've been doing this a lot longer than you have. Show up on time. Meet your deadlines. Basic professionalism.
Now, the mentor has the compact to help them guide.
Yeah.
What does the mentee have to help them abide?
The mentee has the IDP, which is the individual development plan.
How is that different from a research plan? Like, I plan to pipette these things into those other things.
Right. A research plan is purely about the project. The IDP is about the person. It focuses on your career goals, not just getting the current experiment done.
So things like, I want to get better at public speaking, or I need to learn Python.
Exactly. Or maybe I want to transition into industry, not stay in academia. Or I want to learn how to write a federal grant. The process is you assess your skills, you write the IDP, you review it with the mentor, and, this is key, you revise it regularly.
It's a living document.
It has to be. You change, your goals change. If you don't have an IDP, you are essentially just cheap labor for the lab. But with an IDP, you are a trainee actively building a career.
Before we leave the mentee section entirely, we definitely have to talk about red flags. The Shepard-Smith presentation had a pre-test and post-test section that highlighted some major boundary issues.
Oh yes, these are the do-nots, the absolute deal breakers in a lab.
Top of the list was sharing passwords.
Huge no-no. And we see this all the time. Hey, I'm going out of town, just log in with my ID and order the chemicals while I'm gone.
I mean, it seems efficient.
It might be efficient, but it's a research security nightmare and a massive violation of IT policy. If that account gets hacked, or if something malicious is done under that ID, there is literally no defense. Never, ever share passwords.
Another one was asking for money.
Hey, prof, can I borrow $50 for rent this month? Totally inappropriate. It blurs the professional line completely. It creates a power dynamic that is just impossible to navigate later.
But the slide made a point to say that discussing career goals or asking for technical support, those are good things, right?
Right. Asking, how do I run this mass spectrometer, is not a red flag. Asking, can you pay my credit card bill, is a massive red flag.
Got it. Okay, so we have the triangle. Provide, guide, abide. But now we move into the slightly scary part of the deep dive.
Segment 4, the compliance minefield.
This is where guide meets abide, and usually explodes if you aren't really careful. Let's talk about research misconduct, the big three.
Title 42 CFR Part 93.
You just know the code off the top of your head. That's impressive.
It's burned into my brain at this point. The big three are fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism, often just called FFP.
Let's define them, but I really want to talk about the nuance here because I feel like falsification covers a whole lot of sins.
It really does. Let's start with fabrication, though. That's just making up data entirely. The dry lab, you didn't even do the experiment, but you wrote down the numbers anyway. That is pure fiction.
Okay, pretty clear cut. But falsification seems trickier.
It is much subtler. It's manipulating materials, equipment, or processes, or changing or omitting data so the research record isn't completely accurate.
So the classic example is the outlier, right? You have a graph and one dot is just way off. It ruins your beautiful trend line, so you just, delete it.
Right. You tell yourself, I'm just cleaning up the data. I know that point was an equipment error. But unless you have a rigorous, documented statistical reason and a log of exactly why you removed it, that is falsification. You are actively shaping the truth to fit your preferred hypothesis.
And plagiarism.
Appropriating another person's ideas, processes, results, or words without giving appropriate credit. It's the theft of intellect.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting to me. The slide specifically mentioned what is not considered misconduct. And the first one was honest error.
Right. Simply being wrong isn't a crime. If you made a genuine math mistake or you mixed up the reagents by accident and ruined the assay, that's just bad science. It's not misconduct. Misconduct requires intent.
But here was the absolute shocker for me, and I think this will surprise a lot of our listeners too. Self-plagiarism and authorship disputes.
Yes. This is a constant source of confusion in the field. Under the federal definition, specifically that Title 42 regulation, self-plagiarism is not research misconduct.
So if I just copy-paste my own intro from my last published paper into my brand new paper...
It's lazy. And the journal might reject it for copyright reasons, and your mentor might yell at you, but the feds, the Office of Research Integrity, they will not launch a federal investigation over it.
Wow. And authorship disputes. Like, hey, I should be first author, not you.
The feds sheet these cases. They basically say, sort that out yourselves. It is not a matter of research misconduct unless it actually involves plagiarism of someone else's work. If you all worked on it together and you're just fighting over the order of names for the credit, that is an internal HR matter, not a federal crime.
Fascinating. So it's definitely an ethical issue, but not a regulatory capital crime.
Exactly. But let's go back to that quiz question from earlier. Data ownership.
Right. The hierarchy of data.
At the very top, you have the institution. They legally own the data, the cell lines, the notebooks, the hard drives, the code, all of it.
And in the middle, the mentor.
They are the administrator of the data. They control access and stewardship. They decide who gets to see it and use it on a daily basis.
And down the bottom, the mentee.
Who owns absolutely nothing.
Ouch. That is really tough to hear if you're a grad student pouring your literal soul into a project for 5 years. You feel like, this is my discovery.
Emotionally, it absolutely is. But legally, you are an employee or a trainee of the institution. Your work belongs to the provider of the resources.
And this naturally leads to retention. How long do we actually have to keep all this stuff?
Grant records are 3 years. Research misconduct records are 7 years.
Why so much longer for misconduct?
Because investigations take a lot of time. And legal challenges can drag on for years. You really need that evidence trail. If someone accuses you of faking data 5 years ago, you better hope you still have the raw data to prove you didn't.
Makes sense. And human resources records.
In perpetuity. Forever.
So even when I'm long gone, my HR file remains.
That's a little spooky. This whole ownership issue leads us straight to the exit strategy. Let's say a mentee finally graduates. They get a great job at a new university. And they want to take their miraculous cancer-curing cell line with them.
Sure. They pack it in dry ice, put it in the trunk of their car, and hit the road. Road trip.
And they have just committed grand theft.
Theft, but they literally made the cells.
Doesn't matter at all. The institution owns the cells. Taking proprietary materials without express permission is theft. And people have absolutely been prosecuted for this.
Okay, so what's the actual solution? How do we avoid being cell line thieves?
The MTA, the Material Transfer Agreement.
That sounds like a lot of paperwork.
It is paperwork, yes, but it's your get-out-of-jail-free card. It's a formal contract between the two institutions, the one you're leaving and the one you're going to. It facilitates the transfer of proprietary materials completely legally.
The slides noted that the NIH definition says this is used when no research collaboration is planned, just a simple transfer of goods.
Right. If we were actually collaborating on a continuing project, we'd have a subaward or a full collaboration agreement. An MTA is just saying, here, you can have this stuff to use in your new lab. But it is strictly required for any data or material to leave the institution.
Okay, sticking with the legal traps for a minute, let's talk about intellectual property.
IP.
The murky waters of who actually invented what.
There's a distinction made between authorship and inventorship. I always just thought they were exactly the same thing.
It's a massive distinction. Authorship is scholarly. It's based on your overall contribution. Writing the paper, doing the statistical analysis, running the gels in the lab. You can be an author just because you worked hard and contributed solid data.
And inventorship.
Inventorship is strictly legal. It's based on the conception of the invention under the Bayh-Dole Act. Did you actually have the eureka moment? Did you conceive the core idea? If you just followed the mentor's instructions and ran the experiment exactly as told, you might be a first author, but you are not an inventor on the patent. Wow, that's a harsh reality check. You can do all the heavy lifting in the lab and get absolutely none of the patent royalties.
That is the law.
Yeah.
And then there's the public disclosure trap, which honestly sounds like an Indiana Jones movie title.
But it's a trap that snaps shut on your wallet, not your leg.
Exactly. Here's the scenario. You have a great new invention. You're super excited about it. You make a beautiful poster for a big conference. You stand there and present it. Everyone claps.
Huge success.
Total financial ruin.
Wait, why?
Because the very moment you publicly disclosed that invention, you lost your international patent rights immediately. Poof. Gone.
You're kidding.
No, in most of the world, you can only patent something if it is completely new. If you showed it on a poster to a room full of people, it's not new anymore in the eyes of the law.
Immediately. There's no grace period at all.
Internationally, 0.
Yeah.
Now, in the U.S., you do have a 1-year grace period, which is called the bar date. But if you wanted to eventually sell your invention in Europe or Asia, you just destroyed that value completely.
So what is the best practice to avoid this trap?
You must disclose the invention to the Office of Sponsored Programs, specifically their Technology Transfer Office, before you present, before you print the poster, before you give the seminar. Let them file a provisional patent first. That officially holds your place in line. Then, and only then, you can talk about it publicly.
That is solid gold advice. Talk to the lawyers before you talk to the world.
Always. Every single time.
Okay, well, we've covered all the scary stuff. Let's pivot to segment 5, strategies for success. Because we really don't want to leave people terrified of stepping into a lab. How do we actually do this mentorship thing well?
We go back to that nature guide. It had some fantastic, really practical tips for mentors.
One of them was about the initial project for a new student.
Yes, ensure it has guaranteed results.
Okay, that sounds a little like cheating. Science isn't guaranteed.
It's not cheating, it's educational scaffolding. Don't give a first-year grad student a massively high-risk project. The source actually mentioned making a knockout mouse as a high-risk example. That can easily take 2 years and completely fail. If it fails, the student has absolutely nothing to show for a year of work. They are completely demoralized.
So you give them a quick win first instead.
Exactly. Give them something safe to build their confidence and their bench skills. Then, once they know they can actually do the work, give them the moonshot project.
That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of skills, let's talk about writing. This is a massive pain point for every mentor I know. They always say, my student can't write.
The advice here is definitely tough love. Do not rewrite the student's paper for them.
And it's so much faster to just fix it yourself. You can do it in an hour.
It is. It's infinitely faster. But then the student learns absolutely nothing. You have to critique it. Then let them rewrite it. Then critique it again. It's painful. It takes forever. But it's literally the only way they learn to write scientifically. If you just rewrite it, you're just their editor. You're not their mentor.
And what about oral presentations?
Practice, practice, practice. But my absolute favorite tip in the reading was the bet.
Oh, yes. The mentor who bet her students on who could ask the best question at a visiting seminar.
I love this so much. It fundamentally forces active listening.
Explain how that works.
Well, usually students sit in the back of these seminars and just zone out. It's a dark room. They're tired from lab work. But if there's a bet, if there's a tangible prize for the best question, they actually have to listen. They have to analyze the data real time, find the gap in the presenter's logic, and formulate a smart question. It trains them to engage critically with the science.
That's brilliant. And what about networking?
Send your students overseas if you can. Introduce them to visiting VIPs.
There was a really specific, don't hear though, don't hog the visitor.
Oh, we've all seen that, Professor. The one who keeps the visiting Nobel Prize winner locked in their office all day, just basking in the glory. A good mentor shares the wealth. They drag that VIP over to the student's poster and say, hey, you have to hear about this work. That is true sponsorship in action.
Now, if people listening want to get better at this, if they want to move from being an okay supervisor to a legendary mentor, where do they go? What are the resources?
We mentioned CIMER earlier, which is simmerproject.org. They are really the go-to for training curricula. They have entering mentoring, culturally aware mentoring. It's all right there.
What else is out there?
The UCSF Mentor Training Program Archive is excellent. It's full of evidence-based materials you can just download.
And for the RCR stuff specifically?
Northern Illinois University has a really great RCR website with comprehensive online modules.
And we also mentioned disability services earlier in the deep dive.
Yes, there's a really specific, great resource called Working Together, Deaf and Hearing People, and that's from the National Technical Institute for the Deaf. Mentoring isn't one size fits all. You need different resources for different abilities and communication styles.
Incredible. Well, we have covered a lot of ground today, from the mud of April to the absolute heights of international patent law.
It's definitely been a journey.
Let's summarize for everyone. What are the key takeaways?
First, the framework, the triangle.
Provide, guide, abide.
Right. The institution provides the legal structure and the liability shield. The mentor guides the career, not just the single project. And the mentee abides by the standards of the profession.
And second,
the breakdown. A breakdown in any single link of that triangle causes massive issues. If the institution fails to provide clear policies, the mentor really can't guide effectively. If the mentee outright refuses to abide, the mentor can't protect them from the consequences.
And the third takeaway?
The exit strategy,
Yeah.
the MTA. Basically, don't steal the data. Respect the institutional ownership.
Perfect. And I want to end today with a final provocative thought. Something for you to chew on while you eat your open-faced PB&J.
Let's go back to that Nature article one last time. It had a wonderful quote. Those who are good mentors get incalculably more out of it than they put into it.
That's the real secret, isn't it? It's not just a charity project.
It's about legacy. So the challenge for you is this. If you are a mentor, ask yourself, are you just supervising a project to get a paper out, or are you actually building a legacy? Are you creating mindless clones, or are you launching independent careers?
And if you are a mentee,
Are you just doing the daily bench work, or are you actively steering the ship of your own life? Are you abiding with true integrity, or are you just following orders until graduation?
those are powerful questions.
Indeed they are.
Well, friends, that wraps up the Shepard-Smith Compliance Consulting Deep Dive for April 2026.
Happy anniversary to us.
Happy anniversary. Enjoy the mud season. Watch out for quicksand on the sidewalk. And remember, keep off the grass on April 21st.
See you next month.
Bye, everybody.